I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Alderman Alder. Here. Alderman Flores.
Here.
Our Mayor Pro Tem, Alderman Galloway.
Here.
Alderman Hutchinson is absent this evening. Alderman Owen.
Here.
Alderman Snyder.
Here.
We have 5 aldermen present. We have a quorum.
Very good. Has everybody has everybody had an opportunity to review the minutes of our previous meetings? As to those minutes, do I hear a motion?
Motion to accept.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion to accept the minutes from February 5th, special regular sessions, and February 12th special sessions. It's made by David. Okay, then I know who you are, David. By Alderman David Snyder, seconded by Heather Alder. All in favor of accepting those minutes? Motion passes unanimously. There are no ceremonial matters. So we have scheduled visitors and guests, and there is a guest from the chamber, I believe, yes. Mr. Guy Calloway. Yeah. I do remember your name.
Thank you, everybody, for the opportunity. Just wanted to give you guys a update on the activities of the chamber. So we had our chamber banquet this weekend, and a couple of you guys were here. Heather helped sponsor and was very involved, and we appreciated that. So it was a great sold out event and had lots of great feedback, lots of recognition for some important community members from our police, fire, departments, citizen of the year, and our business of the year were very important. So it was a great event, and glad to have it here in Ozark after about an 18-month absence that we got together. Another thing I will, I don't know if you guys have seen it, I've got copies if you do want them, but something that we did get put together is the Ozark Current, which is a quarterly magazine that is being put together from the chamber and about our community and opportunities in our town and things of that nature. So, yeah. Oh, yeah. I'll do that. There's several there. So for you guys to have those. For that, we've got our luncheon this week on Thursday at the OC. We will, it's going to be catered by Huey Magoo's, a new business here in Ozark, and we're excited. They're really excited to partner with the chamber and create a neat event for us. We will recognize some of our award winners as well, just do a summary of the event for our chamber members that weren't able to be at the banquet, as well as our Don Flory with Competitive Audio. He was our business of the year. He's going to speak and just talk about growth in Ozark. And I don't know exactly, but we kind of set him up to talk about why he chose Ozark and what that process has looked like through growing here in town. A couple of save the dates. May 11th at Millwood will be our golf classic. And August 24th is the date we are penciling in. So it's not all finalized for the Business Expo. So something that we are getting going. And we do have a couple of new board members that are getting ready to join us. They've accepted appointments. Susan Johansson with Guarantee Bank and Melissa Higby with Esterly Snyder will be joining the board on that. And then something as the chair of the chamber board, something I have been attending in our partnership with Show Me Christian County as far as the Shop Where You Live campaign that is being worked on, and just a lot of excitement in the partnership among several cities as this begins to get off the ground. And some of that's been really exciting to see the impact that we'll be able to make here locally in Ozark for us, be able to take that countywide message and bring it to the local level as well. We're pretty excited about. So grateful for the opportunity to speak, partner with you guys, and any questions for me?
Just wanted to thank you. The banquet was awesome. The energy level was high. Everybody was positive, and it was good to have the banquet back in Ozark. I want to thank you for all your efforts, and I think you guys are on the right track. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Any other questions? Any other questions or comments from the board? Thank you, Chairman.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
All right, next on the agenda is first reading of bills and resolutions for members of the public. In first readings, that is a public hearing. That means that viewers and members of the audience have the ability to speak for or against a bill. Usually how we handle it is that board members will first ask questions. And then I'll open it up to the citizens that are attending and viewing. First on the agenda is bill number 3532.
Your Honor, I move that we place Bill 3532 on its first reading by title and description only.
Right, we have a motion by Alderman Flores to place bill number 3532 on its first reading, seconded by Alderman Snyder. All in favor?
An ordinance amending the corporate boundaries of the city of Ozark, Missouri by annexing certain real property approximately 50 acres in size bordered by US Highway 65 on the west and Garton Road on the north.
Any comments from staff?
Yes, the application is to annex approximately 50 acres in size. The property is compact and contiguous to the city limits of Ozark. The property can be serviced by city water and sewer and has capacity to be extended to this development. There's an existing 12-inch water main along the northern property boundary, and there are existing 8-inch sewer mains that are near the property boundary that can be extended to serve the development by the developer. The property is within the Tier 1 urban service area. Based on the staff report and findings, all requirements have been met for the approval of the annexation request. In addition, the Planning and Zoning Commission did recommend approval of the annexation. Be happy to answer any questions.
Any questions from board members? I have one.
Yes.
Just for general education, for those that are listening, what does Tier 1 mean?
So the city has an agreement with the county for the urban service area, as we call the USA. In that area is Tier 1, 2, and 3. Tier 1 is the area that is perimetering and bordering the city limits existing, where it's either compact contiguous, there are utilities already at the site or near the site, means that we can easily serve these properties and generally can be annexed in the city. Outside of that, you step out a little further is Tier 2, and then Tier 3 is quite a bit of a distance away from city limits. Generally, that is more of a future 5, 10, 20-year time frame before those Tier 3 properties would come in. So Tier 1, in summary, is ones that we can immediately generally annex those properties and serve for development in the city.
And so we would assume priority for development.
Yes, that is correct.
Thank you.
Yep.
Any members of the public that are present wish to speak in favor of this bill?
Good evening, Board Alderman. My name is Dane Seiler, and I'm with CJW Transportation. We're an engineering firm that is assisting the property owner through this process. And really, they're seeing some interest in development on the property. And so part of that is working through this process to get annexed in. Hard to hear. Get annexed in. And then, of course, it made sense since we're so close to the city of Ozark to annex in and then follow essentially your guys' rules for development. So that's what we're asking here tonight is for the annexation. So any questions I can answer?
Not appear to be so.
All right.
It looks like you knocked it out of the park.
Thank you.
Sir, could we have your address, please?
Oh.
Oh, you filled it out. Very good. All right, thank you. Any other members of the audience that wish to speak in favor of this bill? Any viewers that, yes,
Quick. Hi, everyone. Kristen Hazeltine with Show Me Christian County. Real quick, I just want to say that this is an important piece to the city of Ozark, and we also recommend that this pass and be approved for commercial development. Zoning, sorry.
thank you. Any other members of the public that are attending that wish to speak in favor of this bill? Any viewers? No viewers. Any other comments from the board? Then I'll entertain. Well, then, is there a reason to expedite?
No.
Then bill number 3532 will be set over for its second reading next session. Bill number 3533.
I move that we place Bill 3533 on its first reading by title and description only.
There's a motion to place bill number 3533 on its first reading by title only made by Alderman Flores, seconded by Alderman Snyder. Vote. All in favor.
An ordinance amending the zoning code and official map by changing the zoning classification of certain real property, approximately 50 acres in size, bordered by US Highway 65 on the west and Garden Road on the north.
Yes, following the annexation application is this application for the zoning request. The request is to rezone the approximately 50 acres from A1 agriculture in the county to C2 general commercial in the city. The property is currently vacant at this time. The Highway 65 corridor overlay district will affect this property. At the time of development, the development shall comply to this overlay. The property can be serviced by city water and sewer. The surrounding zoning is C2 general commercial to the north, county RR1 rural residential and A1 agriculture, and C2 general commercial to the east, county A1 agriculture and C2 general commercial in the city to the south, and I1 industrial and C2 general commercial to the west across Highway 65. The comprehensive plan did note the future land use or recommend the land use as mixed use. The requested zoning of C2 general commercial would be an appropriate zoning classification for that mixed use consideration, as it abuts Highway 65 on the western property lines and has commercial uses tangential to and across the Garden Road area. Based on the staff report and findings, all requirements have been met for the approval of the zoning request. And also the Planning and Zoning Commission did recommend approval of the zoning request. Happy to answer any questions.
Alderman Aller.
What did you say the zoning was to the south?
To the south, there is the agriculture in the county, and then the red on the map behind me is the C2 general commercial in the city.
Thank you.
Yep.
Any other questions for Director Smith from the board? Thank you, sir. Is there anybody in the audience that wishes to speak on behalf of this bill? Yes, sir.
Good evening again, Dane Seiler. When we looked to develop this property and thought about the users of this property, really C2 was the zoning that made sense, especially with it to the south and to the east of us. And so that's why we're here and thought tonight asking for the rezone, and thought that that was probably the most appropriate for the property. It seemed to fit the potential users that have reached out to the property owner about developing as well. So with that, I'd be more than happy to answer any questions you might have.
Any questions from the board? Alderman Aller.
All right. I did, oh, do you have, go ahead, sorry.
No, go ahead if you have some.
Nope.
So the property owner, you talked to them on this piece
Yes.
of property,
Yes,
and how did they feel about it?
the property that we're rezoning,
No, did you talk to?
Oh, the property to the, are you talking about the property just to the east on Garton Road?
Yes,
Yes.
you talked
We
to them?
spoke with them and talked to them about the potential uses that we were planning to have on the property, and they seemed to be, they were good with it. So.
No problem.
Correct. Yeah.
Okay.
So.
Thank you.
Any other questions from board members?
I just wanted to say that we've been working with city staff on this for a little while, and they've been great to work with. Planning department, law department, public works, always top notch, answering our questions quickly. And I just thought I'd mention that while I'm up here. So just wanted to let you guys know how great a job that they're doing. So appreciate that.
That's excellent feedback, and I sit on the agenda meetings with the city administrator and the mayor. I know there are a lot of moving pieces to this, and
For sure.
it is exciting to see this project.
Yeah,
Move
we're
forward.
excited to be a part of it. So thank you.
Great. Any other comments from members of the audience? Yes.
I just have some questions. The C2 says that it is designed for a lot of traffic. The only road is Garton Road, and I did drive it, and only half of that is developed to the residential care facility, the Baptist home to the north. So there's nothing that's been stated about what the improvements of the roads are going to be, because isn't that a Ozark Special Road District road
What we'll do is,
on Garton Road?
I'm just going to make a note of your questions, and we'll see if we're able to get answers to those questions. If not tonight, on a later day.
And the last time this piece of property came up for annexation and rezoning, it was requested that they have to build an outer road north through the Baptist home that would adjoin the ballpark. When Convoy of Hope was looking at this tract of land, they had requested that they build an outer road up to the ballpark. And the reason I'm asking this, I own some duplexes over on 15th Street and with the care facility. High traffic is not designed for Garden Road. If you've driven it, you would know, for high trucks and all. And that's the reason that they were asked to build an outer road north to develop this property previously.
Okay, I've noted 2 questions. Do you have any others?
And mixed use. That's what the comprehensive plan says. So what does that mean?
And I think means as it sounds for different types of purposes in the same area.
So would you be going against your comprehensive plan if you go to one zoning here?
No, that would be consistent. That was what was recommended and stated by staff, but I can also see why it would be consistent because of the commercial zoning. Now that one I am able to answer.
Yeah, okay. Okay, I just thought I'd ask because that's been brought up at 2 other zoning meetings here lately. So that's why I said when you go against the comprehensive plan.
We do not take that lightly.
I understand that.
Oh.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Comments from the public?
Again, Kristen Hazeltine with Show Me Christian County. A couple of items I'd like to go ahead and address is that this is a zoning discussion right now. And so, but with the potential development of the user that we've been working with, there will be a requirement for a traffic study for this development. And they will, there's already been discussion about improvements that will need to be made to Garton Road. So that is something that is already in the works and in discussion as well. As far as the extension of the outer road over to Garton Road, that's still going to be part of that traffic study. But based upon the use of that this is not the high traffic full development. So at this point, we're going to go back to the traffic study and we're going to address Garton Road is going to be the plan for that. So and to go again to the zoning point of this is that this is going to be very important to the city of Ozark. This is going to open up other development down the road. They're in works with the city. There's discussion about, again, how is that outer road going to be fully extended all the way down? As we know, that's going to be a long-term plan and something that is definitely going to be addressed and in discussion whenever this property is developed. So,
Thank you.
thank you.
Any other comments from the audience? Director Smith?
I just want to make a clarification, as I think this is probably going to come up as we move forward based on the comp plan and the zoning. As the board knows, we have adopted or put in place a general mixed-use zoning ordinance. When the comp plan was written, that ordinance wasn't in place, wasn't even dreamed of or thought of. But the intent of the comp plan, when it says general mixed use, that was to provide an option for a variety, whether it be multifamily, commercial, industrial. It wasn't to specifically specify a zoning. Now that we have a general mixed use zoning district, it may be something when we do a comp plan update that we might need to revisit because it might cause some of that confusion. But the comp plan, when it refers to a general mixed use, it was just kind of a catch-all, if you will, for various multiple opportunities for development. So I want to clarify that as the comp plan does make that reference. And then also in the report, if you look under the staff report, in the transportation or street section, we do make reference to that traffic study requirement to be done in development, in addition to coordination with the OSRD, the Ozark Special Road District, or MoDOT, because the NN is MoDOT. So I just want to make those clarifications.
Thank you, Director Smith. Any other questions or comments from those people who are attending? How about for those viewing? Any further comments from the board in light of questions that were raised? Then we shall hold over bill number 3533 to the next scheduled legislative session. Bill number 3534.
Your Honor, I make a motion that we put Bill 3534 on its first reading by title and description only.
Second.
We have a motion by Alderman Alder to place bill number 3534 on its first reading by title only, seconded by Alderman Flores. All in favor?
An ordinance authorizing the city to enter into and execute a contract with the Ozark Chamber of Commerce for professional services. I'd be happy to introduce this bill unless our city administrator would like to speak to it. The city staff worked with the Chamber of Commerce to negotiate this with the mayor and the mayor pro tem and then Alderwoman Alder with the chamber to re-envision what that partnership looks like. You will notice in the agreement, there are specific deliverables identified, and those really focus on those economic development impacts to our business community. Those events that really foster that business development and growth and celebrate those businesses that are currently in our community. And so if you have any questions about the contract, I'd be happy to address those. But I believe if there's any other comments, our interim city administrator can address that.
Alderman Alder.
Oh, I'm sorry, I'm still on. Well, since I'm on, I really think this is good. I think we're headed in the right direction, and I would definitely support funding the chamber. I think this is a win-win for everybody.
Any comments from the public that are attending? Any comments from viewers? Any further comments from board members? I will just say that I'm excited that this contract has come before us. It does seem that our city attorney has accurately described what its deliverables are. It seems to me that it is focused a great deal on business retention and serving existing membership and simplifying these tasks. So I know that Alderman Alder has worked very hard along with others with the chamber in establishing the groundwork for this contract. And I know that our city attorney has as well. That is my comment. All right, so if there are no other comments, then we shall hold over Bill number 3534 for its second reading at the next scheduled legislative session. Bill number 3535.
I move that we place Bill 3535 on its first reading by title and description only.
There is a motion to place Bill number 3535 on its first reading by title only made by Alderman Flores, seconded by Alderman Snyder. All in favor?
An ordinance authorizing the mayor to enter into a contract with Crawford, Murphy and Tilly Incorporated for services related to the Chadwick Flyer Phase 5.
Director Parsons.
Yes, we're back to talk about more trails. So Jacqueline, I don't know if you've got that. There we go. I will be brief, but I'm here to answer questions too. We've been through this presentation. I kind of chopped it down a little bit, but I told you we'd be back, and we're back. It's time to pick the design professional for 2 of our grant projects. So again, you know the big picture, you know the excitement. In fact, there was a really good meeting in Springfield this afternoon that was well attended for the northern portion of the Chadwick Flyer. So we've got people excited in both counties. We're going to focus on Phase 5 tonight. That's you kind of see the overpass is Phase 4 that's called out in that map in front of you or behind me. And then Phase 5 will actually connect from the overpass to the tracker phase. And a quick update on the tracker phase. It has passed everything through MoDOT and is about to go out for advertisement. So we'll start receiving bids soon, which is great. That one's been a long one in the making, but it will be well worth the wait. So this one focuses primarily on Phase 5. It does focus on Phase 5. And it is making a connection on Longview there. So MoDOT allows us to go out and pick from an on-call list for our designers. The reason we chose Crawford, Murphy, Tilly is that they have done the overpass, they've done Phase 1, they've done the tracker phase. They're very familiar with this. We're trying to get the Phase 5 going because we're hoping to put the overpass and Phase 5 out to bid at the same time. That would give us an extreme advantage when it comes to economies of scale. When you get a general contractor that has that many more yards of concrete, that usually means lower prices, which is good for everybody. So that's what we're here for tonight. This one anyways, you know the big picture. This is just part of making that what we're calling the spine, the Chadwick Flyer, come to life. So any questions on Phase 5?
Alderman Flores.
Just wanted to say I'm excited to see the next section come out, and it's really starting to come together. So pretty exciting.
It is exciting.
Other comments from the board or questions? Thank you, Director Parsons. Any comments from the public that are attending, who are attending? Any comments from viewers? Last call to talk about this. Very well then, Bill number 3535 will be held over for its second reading at the next scheduled legislative session. Bill number 3536.
Your Honor, I move that we place Bill 3536 on its first reading by title and description only.
There's a motion made by Alderman Flores to place Bill number 3536 on its first reading by title only, seconded by Alderman Snyder. All in favor?
An ordinance authorizing the mayor to enter into a contract with Southwest Missouri Engineering LLC, doing business as Cochran Engineering, for services related to sidewalk improvements.
This is another exciting one. We'll pick up right where we left off on the other presentation. No, you're fine. I should have told you that beforehand. These were so close together in terms of the actual projects. I just wanted to kind of zoom in and remind you what this does. This is going to be a wonderful connection into the downtown. The map's a little difficult to read there. It's a little busy, but basically Robertson coming into downtown turns into 2nd Avenue. I may have a better image if this works. Maybe not. Do you mind hitting it? There you go. Maybe that helps a little bit. You can see the square kind of stand out a little bit better in this image. You can see the Garrison Springs. We have a lot of pedestrian activity along Robertson Street. If any of you have been through there Saturday or Sunday, you'll especially notice that. There is a Gathering Place Church over there that has a big following, that they all walk to church. This also, in terms of our big picture, helps connect Eastland Heights to the downtown. And remember, once you get to the downtown, eventually you're going to be able to get to Finley Farms, to Garrison Springs, to the Chadwick Fly. So it's all about creating those spurs, if you will, that come in and connect to these nodes of activity. And again, it's about safety. I feel like we're extremely fortunate to be a part of these projects. I'm glad that the OTO sees that as well. We do have some numbers there. Cochrane Engineering, just so you all know, was the primary engineer that did all the downtown revitalization. So you're seeing us go with CMT for Chadwick Fire because that makes sense. They have a lot of the data that they already need. Cochrane did a lot of our survey and the revitalization for the downtown. So we're proposing going with them. It just feels like a better fit, and there's a lot of crossover there that we can take advantage of. So.
Alderman Stein.
With respect to the sidewalks and the trails, I know we're still in some of the planning and building stages. How much lighting are they going to be putting on these sidewalks?
Yeah, so the lighting model that we're going with in high volume areas is similar to what you see around the ballpark at the actual softball field over here. Now, as you get off the trail a little bit down the beaten path, we are looking at some different lighting options. For example, the lighting over the overpass will be it will be lit up very well. As you get into the more rural areas, we don't really have a set standard at this time. I think it would be wise to coordinate with the police department and kind of understand those different areas that could need a little bit of light just for protection. I will say that in the first phase too, that we've allocated the infrastructure is in place to get security cameras in there as well. So we're trying to think all of that. Lighting is critical in some places, as you know. In others, we want them to have that natural experience.
Yeah, the reason that I asked that, I think it would be a very prudent thing to do to get with Chief Arnold and get the perspective of the police officers and bring them to the table on this planning.
Yep.
I think that would be something that we need to do. Police officers, they are valuable when it comes to criminal activity, and they can tell you what will and what will not work. So I would definitely like to see one of our officers, if not the chief or someone, brought to this planning table.
Yep. No, that's a great idea. I think they're excited about it as well, but if we can get in front of that, I think that's all the better. So.
Excuse me. If there is any kickback with that, please let me know.
Okay.
Please.
I don't think we'll have any kickback on that. That's in terms of working with the police.
Oh, I'm not talking to police officers.
Oh.
I'm not talking with the firm that helps design this stuff.
Oh, no. I think
not saying that there will be, but
yeah.
If there is, please let me know because these guys are very valuable.
Yeah, absolutely.
Their knowledge.
I'm sorry, I thought you were making a joke about me having to work.
I can joke about
that. No, I think everybody is very receptive to that. So, yeah. Any other questions?
Any other questions from the board for Director Parsons? I have one.
Yes.
I've been following this for a while, and when I saw sidewalk improvements, I had assumed it would just be a pedestrian sidewalk. Is that what is planned?
That is correct. This because of the limits of our right of way and the area that you're kind of confined in along Robertson, it'd be a 5-foot sidewalk. But again, it serves as that connection to the major trail system. So.
Thank you. Any other questions in line of mind? Thank you, Director. Any comments from the public who are attending? From viewers? Further comments from the board? Very well. Bill number 3536 will be held over for its second reading at the next scheduled legislative session. Bill number 3537.
I move that we place Bill 3537 on its first reading by title and short description only.
Motion to place bill number 3537 on its first reading by title and description only, seconded by, or made by Alderman Flores, seconded by Alderman Snyder. All in favor?
An ordinance authorizing the city to enter into a contract with Brintag Mid-South Incorporated for municipal water treatment chemicals.
All right, same presentation. I tried to keep it as simple as possible on this. This is just some house cleaning. We are getting to the point where we use enough liquid chlorine gas each year to where it's at that threshold. You've seen us bring the DNS contract to you before for the polymers down at the plant. This is for our water system and to treat that according to DNR standards. So we went out for bid, only got one bid back, one qualified bid back, but the price is good. And it's something that we have to do per DNR regs. So we would like to move forward with this, no expediting or anything like that required. But we do foresee in the future, as we continue to grow and use additional water, we may get to the point where we get over that 20,000. So let's get it under a contract and same like we do with DNS. So. Any questions on the chlorination?
Doesn't appear to be.
Okay. Thank you.
Any comments from the audience? Any comments from the viewers? Any comments, opportunity again for board members on the exciting topic of chlorine? All right, well, then that will be held over for its second reading, next legislative session. Bill number 3538.
Your Honor, I move that we place Bill 3538 on its first reading by title, short description only.
It's a motion made by Alderman Flores, seconded by Alderman Snyder to place bill number 3538 on its first reading by title and brief description. All in favor?
An ordinance authorizing the city to enter into and execute a contract with Core and Main LP for advanced metering infrastructure.
These next two items on the agenda come in tandem. Think of Core and Main as the piece of infrastructure that we'll be purchasing from, the company that we'll be purchasing from. Census is kind of the software and the analytics, the background that gives us all this data. AMI is, I would say, widely used amongst municipalities now. Electric was kind of the leading edge of this, but now we're seeing it in water as well. There are a lot of benefits to this, and we'll go through them. Actually, we went through them one morning, so I won't bore you too much with these. It's a little more exciting than chlorine, though. It does give us the ability to read these meters. It helps us more efficiently utilize our meter techs. It's something that uses an advanced communication system, somewhat similar to our SCADA that, identifies us when things are going wrong. But it utilizes some of our wells, and we place that infrastructure on those points, and then that gives us access to remote data nonstop. This is a map of our coverage. So based upon where we'd be putting the infrastructure, you can see that there's only a couple little white spots that you see are primarily outside of the city. That's just due to topography. We're not concerned about those. This is a great coverage map. Why? Why are we doing this? The big one is just to get better at what we do. This is, like I said, the old reading the meters is kind of a way of the past, and this allows us to collect that data instantaneously. We can see when we've got a leak or something going on, it'll actually alarm us. And what does that mean? That means that customers also get a better insight into their usage, which is huge. The more transparent we are with our systems, and the more they're allowed to get 24/7 access, I think that's just a huge step for the city. The other thing that I'm excited about in our world is water loss. One of the big things that came out of our water study was we've got to pull that number down. And this will help in two ways, really. By replacing these meters, these old meters, we're going to be more efficient. By replacing them with this intelligent infrastructure, it will also limit the amount of time that we have leakages. So that'll help us on the water loss side of things as well, which is huge. We'd like to see that number come down. Really though, what it comes down to is response times and customer service. We have a lot of customers, and I can tell you right now that when those leaks happen, we work our best to get those fixed immediately. But when your bill goes up, I'm the same way. I'll call and say, hey, what's going on? So it just helps us be better at what we do. So.
Thank you. Questions?
I do.
Alderman Stein.
No, I like the system. With the water loss, it says it can detect a leak. So if we have one of our folks here in town, generally they go out there and they look at a little triangle and it's spinning, it's going to lose control. It's actually going to lift off. Okay. So these meters will actually be able to detect if there is an excessive use of water. Is that correct?
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Yeah.
You dial it in, and if it crosses that threshold, it'll beam back at you and say, something's going on here. You got to check into it. And that's much more efficient and much quicker response time for us.
Gotcha. The second part of that question, because it is smart technology, can this system be hijacked or hacked?
You know, I wish they were here tonight. I mean, reading through the warranty and everything, they talk a lot about cybersecurity. And there's a lot of back-end protections in place. I know that we're not the first city to use it, so they've gone through this, but I know that system is hardened, if you will.
Okay, it's just that, you know, we have the concerns if someone hijacks the system and they demand ransom to open it. I mean, are we vulnerable to that?
Yeah, and I think that's a great point. And the other good point is that we'll be running all of these software updates through Alltech, who you all talked with several times. They'll be running those checks too to make sure that the system is hardened and protected. So,
thank you.
Alderman Flores.
The one thing I know, me and you had talked about it, but yeah, we have 3 employees right now that it takes them all the time.
Yep.
Just to go around and read every single meter we have.
Yep.
And I think the ability to be able to, I'm sure you have plenty of places and plenty of things that they could be doing other than that. And I think that's a big savings for us too in that area, just to know that we don't have to go out to every single meter for every single water user we have and read that every month.
absolutely.
So
Yeah.
that's a big saver right there.
No, it's going to be great. And like you said, we can put those 3 employees to work on being more proactive in other areas. So.
Any other comments or questions? Alderman Hall.
Just to follow up with what David said, how does it let you know? I mean, if there's a water leakage, what happens?
So it's basically like an intelligent communication system that rings back to our main computer system that says, hey, warning, you're using too much water here. Well, a lot of times we call that a SCADA analysis. It's just an advanced warning system that is set on certain parameters. Once you get over those parameters and it's getting to the point where there's an excess amount of water, even a little bit, it'll tell you, hey, they're using more than they did last month. And you can set those parameters, but it's rings back to the software. And then it notifies us that have the app and the software saying, you need to go look at this, get some eyes on the ground right now.
Okay, so there's actually a person that will see that.
Yes, and it's the same way, and I know I haven't talked much about our SCADA in the past. I'm looking for my phone. Our phones all have SCADA apps on them, and they will remind you if anything's wrong at any time of any day. So it's great. Now, occasionally you hear that beep and you're like, come on. But no, it's the apps and everything are great to use, and it will just make us better at what we do. So, yeah.
Any other comments or questions from the board? Director Parsons, you had promised this would be more exciting than chlorine, and judging from the comments, you seem to have delivered that promise. Any comments from people who are sitting in the audience.
I just have some questions. It's a great idea. I deal with White River Electric and I have a computer program that I can get on and see exactly how much I'm using electric. Will this be apply to individual? The only concern I have is when Liberty changed their meters in Republic, they didn't get a reading and then a new reading, and they overbilled people on their electric. So that's a concern I have when you change the meter. And the other thing is, this is not the company that Nixa uses, correct?
I'm not, oh, sorry. Well, I'm not familiar with these.
Oh,
Nixa has just had a major issue with their billing on their water, so that's why I was asking.
that's good to know. So in the first reading, we can make note of these questions and then come up with answers at the second reading. Thank you very much for providing that input. Any other members of the audience wish to make a comment for or against this bill? Any viewers? Any further comments from board members? In that case, Bill number 3538 will be held over for its second reading at the next scheduled legislative session, Bill number 3539.
Your Honor, I move that we place Bill 3539 on its first reading by title and description only.
So motion made by Alderman Flores and seconded by Alderman Snyder to place Bill number 3539 on its first reading by title and brief description only. All in favor?
An ordinance authorizing the city to enter into and execute a contract with Census USA Incorporated for advanced metering software.
So this is that software that we talked about, really not too much to add, but this is the other component. Amanda and I looked at this and we felt that it was best to do two separate contracts here. So same thing, two contracts.
Comments from the board? Comments from the public that are attending? Comments from viewers? Very well. Bill number 3539 will be held over for its second reading at the next scheduled legislative session. Bill number 3540.
Your Honor, I make a motion that we place Bill 3540 on its first reading by title and description.
There's a motion made by Alderman Alder to place Bill number 3540 on its first reading by title and description, brief description only, seconded by Alderman Snyder. All in favor?
An ordinance amending the budget for fiscal year 2024.
There's nothing like mood music. Yeah, that's right. It's from the music. Especially on a budget.
Are you saying this is boring?
All right, with that introduction, Director.
Okay. These are pretty routine budget amendments. A lot about the Chadwick Flyer, as you can see. I think we're adding the 851. They've gotten to a point where they have some projections. Additional funds for the purchase of the Castleberry project. We're at the point now with the CDBG grant. I know that you've talked about that before. I think it's an extension of the 18th Street, Jeremy. Is that? Yes. Yes. Okay. That's the general fund budget amendments. The park amendments, they are actually not going to do the Garrison Springs Trailhead and Garrison Springs bathroom. So we're reducing the revenue that was the 20% or the 80% reimbursement that we would get. And we're taking the expense out as well on the park. There was a typographical error. I made it. I was linking some spreadsheets and I couldn't get the numbers in the right place and I did not catch it. So we're reducing the park expense by $117,000. So that's good news. They are asking for some additional funds for Finley River Trail extension and for some upgrades and maintenance to the Garrison Springs house They're getting ready to do some planning and I think hopefully move towards getting it open. That's about all of them. Are there any questions?
Questions, comments from the board?
Okay.
Any comments or questions for or against from members of the public that are seated? Viewers? Very well. Is there a need to expedite? Then bill number 3540 is held over for its second reading at the next scheduled legislative session. Bill number 3541.
Your Honor, I make a motion to place bill number 3541 on its first reading by title and description only, please.
Alderman Snyder has moved to place bill number 3541 on its first reading by title and brief description only, seconded by Alderman Flores. All in favor?
An ordinance authorizing the mayor to apply for, accept, and enter into contracts for a Missouri Highways and Transportation Commission Highway Safety Program for Traffic Enforcement Grant.
Chief?
Good evening. So this is the same request that we have for you every year at this time. This is for grant funding for traffic enforcement through MoDOT, or the Missouri Highway Safety Program for Traffic Enforcement. What this allows us to do is spend about 220 to 240 dedicated hours during the duration of this grant out looking for incidences of driving while intoxicated and hazardous moving vehicles. We participate in this every year. And by participating in this allows us also to be eligible to receive some mini grant funds during some specified enforcement campaigns, such as St. Patrick's Day, the 4th of July, New Year's Eve, stuff like that. It is very important to us. Probably the number one complaint that we get is related to traffic in the city. And we put a lot of emphasis and focus on it. However, it's not enough. And this allows us to get some officers out there when they're not responsible for answering 911 calls and stuff like that, and do some proactive traffic enforcement. You'll see here in about a month, but I am happy to report for the first time in the last 5 years, our traffic accidents held steady last year. Actually, exactly steady to the same number that we had in 2022. And that's been a goal for us for a long time, to try to stifle that increase that we see annually in motor vehicle crashes. So our approach is working in reducing motor vehicle crashes. And this is an important way that we're able to be out there, be visible, and to improve traffic and safety on our roadways.
Any questions or comments for the chief? Thank you, Chief.
Thank you. Oh, sorry. I am asking, I've asked Alderman Snyder if this could be expedited due to the time constraints on this. The deadline for this is, for us to submit for this, is March 1st. We got this, it was early February when everything was freed up for us to get the paperwork in place to start this process. So I do apologize for that. It's just something that it's the cards that are dealt with us, and we're playing them as well as we know how.
Very well. Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Any comments, questions from the board in light of the last statement? Any comments or questions from citizens who are attending? Citizens viewing? Then is there another motion?
Your Honor, I make a motion that we place bill number 3541 on its second reading by title and description only, please.
Very well. There is a motion made by Alderman Snyder. Is there a second?
Second.
Seconded by Alderman Alder to place bill number 3541 on its second reading by title and brief description. All in favor?
An ordinance authorizing the mayor to apply for, accept, and enter into contracts for a Missouri Highways and Transportation Commission Highway Safety Program for Traffic Enforcement Grant.
Comments from the board? Comments from citizens who are attending? Viewing? Alderman Stein.
Your Honor, I make a motion that we adopt bill number 3541 as ordinance number 24-017.
There is a motion made by Alderman Snyder to place or to enact bill number 3541 as ordinance number 24-017, seconded by Alderman Flores. Roll call vote.
Alderman Flores. Alderman Snyder.
Aye.
Alderman Owen. Our Alderman Mayor Pro Tem.
Aye.
Thank you. Alderman Hutchinson is absent. Alderman Alder.
Aye.
We have 5 aye votes. Motion carries.
Bill number 3542.
Your Honor, I make a motion that we place Bill 3542 on its first reading by title and brief description only.
Second.
There is a motion made by Alderman Alder, seconded by Alderman Flores to place bill number 3542 on its first reading by title and brief description only. All in favor?
An ordinance authorizing the city to enter into and execute an addendum to the triple net lease for the US ballpark property. I would be happy to introduce this ordinance. The city in 2015 entered into an economic development agreement with Jeff Williams, who operates the ballpark under the name OMS LLC. That agreement transferred the property from Jeff Williams to the city to provide real property tax abatement. And then the city in turn leased the property back to Mr. Williams so that he could operate it as a ballpark. That agreement was supposed to continue, but there is an option to purchase in the agreement. And so if he wants to, he can exercise that option. However, in our agreement, the intent being to provide real property tax abatement, the city could not anticipate the change in how that is treated under the case law in Missouri. And so the assessor rightfully amended the assessment of this property to take into consideration the value of the lease. The lease is valued at roughly $500,000 over the term of it. And so he was assessed on that $500,000 lease. And therefore he was assessed beginning in 2022, 2023, and then we've prorated it for 2024. Through this research, we also found that he was assessed earlier in the lease term in 2016. And so the city was able to obtain proof of all of the taxes that Mr. Williams had paid. And in the intent and the spirit of the contract, the city is willing to offer to amend the agreement to reflect that in the total payoff amount for this option to purchase. So the option to purchase will reflect both his total rent he has paid over the life of the lease, and it will reflect the $37,000 roughly that he has paid in the taxes, which were supposed to be abated. No one did anything wrong in this, analysis. It's just something that we couldn't anticipate at the time in 2015. It is a change in the law, and the assessor did the appropriate thing. And now we're just wanting to honor our original agreement and then allow him to continue with that option to purchase. And so the project can move forward. With that, I can answer any questions.
Any questions for our city attorney? I see Alderman Alder, you have your line. Alderman Stein.
I do now. Because things are funny when it comes to contracts and agreements. Will any one of our citizens who pay taxes be held liable as a whole part of this payoff?
No, the agreement for tax abatement runs similar to what we do for a 353 tax abatement. This one was just done earlier, in 2015, and it's just a different structure. So it's a similar tax abatement, idea for economic development, whereby the city owning the property is not assessed a tax. However, through that case law, you do pay a value of tax on the lease amount, and that was properly done. And so we're just reducing the total rent value for the agreement by that amount, and it's a $37,000 adjustment.
Okay. And did he, just out of curiosity, was there any indication what was going to be done with the property?
I am not familiar with what will be done, but I do believe we may have some people present in the audience who will speak to this bill, and they may have more information on that.
I'd like to hear that if I could, please.
Any other questions directed by the board for our city attorney, Amanda Calloway? All right, we'll open it up to the public. Or is there anybody here that is present that wishes to speak to this bill? Hazelton.
Alderman Snyder, what we can say about this property is that there is an interest in Jeff Williams purchasing the property and being able to move forward with the development over in that area. There has been groups, other property owners that are also interested in doing a development in collaboration with what their vision is for it. What I can share is that it would be a tax producing commercial retail that and again, I can't go into full details about the development, but it's intended for some tourism related again, sorry, trying to only share what I am allowed to share right now. But it would be a great asset, tourism related that could draw people into the area.
With that being said, I understand that there is some confidentiality with things like that, but oftentimes, you know, when there's money handled, you know, through the city, you know, folks want to know what it's for. I mean, can we elaborate any on what this may be or for the city? I mean, is there any way you could give us anything at all?
So based upon our breakfast meeting that we had last week, you know, it was discussed about creating tax revenue businesses that would be able to help our community. And this would be one of those. And again, you know, it's a baseball field is a piece of it, of course, that it would be remaining intact. There is vision for, you know, other bringing in people and utilizing the field more consistently. And there's discussion on whenever they're here, being able to extend their time here and utilizing that full area. So I know I'm really still talking more general, but I'm trying to share as much as I possibly can right now.
No, and I appreciate that. It sounds like it's going to be beneficial to the city as a whole.
Yeah, we're very excited about this. This would be, again, a good piece for Ozark, and we're very excited about this.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Alderman Alden.
In other words, it would be more beneficial than just the bare ground that's there now.
Yeah, absolutely.
Thank you.
And they've already cleared some of it, so it already looks better, right?
Any other questions for Ms. Hazelton?
Okay.
I think you
Thank
answered
you.
those. Thank you very much. Any other members of the public that are attending wish to speak for or against this bill? Any viewers?
There is an interest, Your Honor, for expediting this bill because there is a closing date anticipated for March 1st that the future owner would like to meet that deadline. And so the city staff is willing to request expediting this bill tonight on his behalf.
Alderman Alden.
Okay, Your Honor, I make a motion that we place the bill at 3-5, second reading by title.
There's a motion made by Alderman Alder, seconded by Alderman Flores to place bill number 3542 on its second reading by title only. All in favor?
An ordinance authorizing the city to enter into and execute an addendum to the triple net lease for the US ballpark property.
Your Honor, I make a motion that we adopt bill 3542 as ordinance 24018 on, yes.
All right, there's a motion made by Alderman Alder, bill number 3542. Well, to enact bill number 3542 is ordinance number 24-018, seconded by Alderman Flores. Roll call vote.
Alderman Alder. Mayor Pro Tem Galloway.
Aye.
Alderman Flores. Alderman Owen. Alderman Snyder. Alderman Hutchinson is absent. We have 5 aye votes. Motion carries.
Very well, we've completed that part of the agenda concerning first reading bills. There are no resolutions. And there are no second reading and final passage bills other than what we've already handled. Next on the agenda would be report of officers, boards, and committees.
Well, thank you, Mr. Mayor. I'll be brief. Staff had a meeting this afternoon with county officials to discuss the state of the Green Bridge and what might be done. I'm going to say save it, but I guess what the county's intention was toward the bridge and what possible options the city might have to obtain that bridge. It's my understanding that they're going to be moving forward with a process to accept public, lack of a better term, proposals on people that are interested in it and what they would do with it. So it's something that we'll need to be cognizant of, and on the staff side, we'll be discussing where we might be able to use such a historic piece of our county's heritage. So I wanted to make everybody aware of that. I know that there's a lot of interest in saving and preserving our history. I've certainly heard that from this board, and I think Green Bridge, Red Bridge, certainly meet that focus and that intent. So we'll be looking to hopefully be able to bring a proposal forward to you at some point in the near future for your blessing that we can move forward with dealing with the county to be able to acquire that bridge for ourselves.
Well, we have an important partnership with the county, and that bridge is a beautiful bridge. I hate to see it come down, but it sounds like there's some movement to keep part of that bridge in some way in our heritage.
Certainly, if we, my intention is if we can at all, we should. Obviously, there's financial factors to consider that we'll have to figure as we kind of move down the track a little bit on that. But it does seem to be an important part of the history of this area, and I think it's pretty cool. I think it's great that there's interest in the community to be able to save that, and I've heard from some very passionate residents about saving Green Bridge. So I know there's a lot of citizen interest in it as well.
Alderman Snyder.
Well, Green Bridge just jogged my memory. About a month and a half ago, we had the Green Bridge subdivision, and we had a developer coming in, and this was tabled, if we remember, because there was an issue with the road, the other entryway into there. Do we have an update on that development? If of anything, is that guy coming back to the table?
I don't believe
anything like that.
I don't believe they've been back yet.
I'm this definitely going to be in your
Yeah, actually, the developer's engineer reached out to us late last week. They're still trying to put together a plan to figure out what their options are. We continue to inquire with them, and they have not identified a timeline to bring it back. However, they are looking at maybe a modification to that subdivision, but at this time, not sure what the plan is, and potentially depending on the modification, it might have to go back to planning and zoning depending on the level of changes.
They don't have any timeline or target dates?
No timeline at this time.
Thank you.
Thank you, Director Smith. Any other reports of officers, boards, and committees? All right, Planning and Development Department has a written report.
Be happy to answer any questions in the report. Looking at it, we're starting the year pretty consistently with last year as far as permitting. We were down last year compared to the year of 2022. In addition, just for an update, as you will continue to see, and you see at the end of this under code compliance, we are actively in pursuing a lot of seeing a lot of violations in the city and keeping up with those. anyway, I suspect that as the elected official, you might get some calls on those, but anyway, just be assured that we are doing our due diligence and making sure we're trying to get those in compliance.
Questions for Director Smith, Alderman Owen?
Hi, just some curious things. The house that's being demolished on Highway CC.
It's an older residence. I don't know if it's been used as a residence, but do you recall Dakota Cabinet out there off CC?
Yeah.
West of Hugh Magoo's? There's a house just west of there, just kind of stood alone. That had recently changed ownerships, and at this time, they're just demoing the house. I'm not sure what the plan is. I don't recall it, maybe even zone commercial. I can't recall the zoning on that house. But at this time, we don't know what the plan is for that property.
You don't know what the plan is?
No, just pull the demo permit.
Okay. And what's redevelopment review permits?
So our process for redevelopment reviews, a lot of times when a business goes out and a new business comes in, it triggers a redevelopment review process. Basically, that gives us an opportunity to go in and look at do a site assessment of the structure and the building with our department, Public Works, and the fire district to see what might be required for the new business. If it's a change of use group, then that requires a little more. But if it's a boutique going out, boutique going in, generally there's no requirements or they don't make improvements. Might be updating the fire extinguisher, an exit sign, a backflow preventer if that's lacking. But if they don't do a lot of improvements to the building, it's usually pretty straightforward.
Okay. And Estes, what is Estes doing on his property? Do we know?
What is?
I guess I'll defer that question as there's been email strings going out about that. I'll defer that to maybe Ben for clarification as there's email strings going in and out about that specific property.
I had a question on, was it a specific question dealing with the property?
Estes?
Yes,
No,
just in general, how the property is going,
curiosity.
what's being developed there?
Sure.
I'm not trying to force it. I just wasn't sure what you were asking.
She's not asking so much about the specific situation.
Maybe let me
Maybe
ask this
something
question.
that I'd
Which
like to know. I don't know. It
which
sounds-
property are you inquiring about? Yeah. Is it the
5232
Okay,
North 23rd.
those are office warehousing buildings that he's
Office
developing.
warehouse.
Yes.
Okay, 5256.
Yep, they're neighboring next door. There's a parcel to the north and south, and they're just basically a mirrored image of the structure.
Okay, and is it fair to ask what the permit's for? Because
It's an office warehousing building. One of the sides has a realtor, his realtor company in there, and I don't recall the other building, what had moved in there off the top of my head.
Okay. Now you got me real curious. Now, the other last thing I had is what's going on down by the river on along 65, all that big machinery, what are they doing?
South of Walmart?
Yeah.
That's the name slipped my mind. It's a subdivision, single family and two family or duplexes along the western side of the Valley Ridge Estates as a residence that the Jared Commercial is developing along that property.
What are they doing right there on the side of the road? This big machinery, what,
Yeah, they're
Bridge wide.
is that what they're doing there?
65.
Yeah.
south of Walmart.
No.
Oh, yeah, that's the widening of 65 with MoDOT.
Okay. Okay, so they're getting ready to widen the bridge
Yes.
to accommodate the extra lane.
The widening of this road. Yes.
That makes sense.
Okay.
Okay, thank you very
Yeah.
much. Appreciate it.
Other questions of Director Smith? Thank you, Director Smith. There's a written report from Parks and Recreation.
Absolutely. So the biggest thing I'd like to kind of point out, there's a number of things in that report. We are working still, if Jack will scroll down just a little bit, we're working on our leak at the pool. They have identified where they believe it is. They have put plugs in the appropriate pipes and it's not actively leaking water. So the next step is we'll go out and get design and proposals for a repair of that leak. We'll time it with some lighting projects as well as our annual shutdown because we are not actively losing water, which is a great place to be. We did contract for the facility assessment. One thing that you guys will be excited to see is they will come and do a presentation, so you guys can hear the state of things, mechanical, HVAC, plumbing, everything at the OC. And then finally, you'll see that they're starting to get spring ready. The other thing I want to point out is you guys all have our rec guide for spring. This has been a huge undertaking, and the marketing gals are frankly to give credit to for that. This is everything Parks and Rec, and to coordinate the entire Parks and Rec team and all of the departments. It took weeks, if not months, of their time, and it frankly looks really good. It's the first time, I believe, ever that we've had something like this. It's not the last time. You'll note that it says January through April, so we get to start this process again very soon, but we're super excited about it. It's flying off the shelves at the OCs. I think at the OC, families are excited about it. There's some here at City Hall, and now you all have one as well. So it's really a great asset. Thank you, Communications Department.
Any further questions for the director or interim director? Maybe. Oh, we do too.
It looks great.
Yeah.
Really good. Thank you.
Mine is actually, you brought something up about the pool, just out of curiosity. Our first responders in the area that are water rescue swimmers, do they have access to the pool? I mean, without being charged to go in there, do they have access to the pool?
I would have to double check. I know we've partnered with them on other various training exercises, so they'll utilize like the gymnasium when they do some of their conditioning. I don't know the specifics of that, but I would warn a guess that we would treat it the same as any other facility access for them when it comes to those things.
That'd be something we need to visit with.
Yeah, absolutely.
Other questions for interim director Hayden? Thank you.
All right, thank you.
Miscellaneous comments, announcements for members of the board and for the mayor. Alderman Stein.
Just full of things tonight. Well, no, I'm going to bring something up here. If we touched base on it during our last meeting. I think where we stand right now as a city, we have an issue with an overabundance right now of housing developments. And I'm a firm believer we have an overabundance of that. I would like to see what we could do, and I know there are going to be some legalities with it, of exploring the possibility of moratorium for 1 year on residential development, not industrial, commercial, but residential, until we can address some of our infrastructure needs. I think that we are definitely outgrowing our britches here, and we need to address it before we get too far out of this box that we live in. I think that we're living way beyond our means when it comes to infrastructure, and I think we need to address it. The other part of that that I bring up, I just came back from Louisiana yesterday. Okay, and it was definitely a trip that I took with my wife for family reasons, but I spoke with law enforcement officials while I was there. I don't know if you are aware of this or not. The state of Louisiana, the governor has declared a state of emergency for law enforcement. And I think it's coming here. The reason being, they cannot fill law enforcement positions. They're losing them more than they're gaining. This starts from the state police down to the parish level of the county into the municipalities. It's coming here. And I think we need to address that now sooner than later. When we spoke last week, I visited our police department. Chief Arnold has done an excellent job with what he has. We need a new police department. I don't care what happens here. We need to get our officers into their own building, not something we've rehabbed, but something that is suitable for policing and to make our citizens safe. I think we need to prioritize that. And that goes along with the imposition of some type of just a stop order with building residences until we can get things under control here. And I would like to open it up for a little bit of discussion with the board members right now. because this is something that's near and dear to me. And I've had a lot of folks come up to me and tell me the same thing. And I want to leave that right there with that and get some opinions real quick.
Any comments from board members? There are none. Oh, yes. I couldn't see your light. You may. One next, oh, there you go. The one next to you may work.
Okay, sorry. David, I guess my only question would be, with looking for all the staffing that we have, is it something that has to wait? And this is a genuine question. Is it something that the conversation has to be more in depth once we get the city, the right people in place? Or is that a conversation that can happen now? I guess is that a fair question? Because I feel like with all the staffing that we're looking to hire, how does the conversation start and then not get interrupted when new people come on? That would be my only question.
No, it's a very fair question. What I think we're going to get into is that as these developments progress, we're going to have a large influx of people here. Our officers can't handle it. Our first responders are not going to be able to handle this. We need to shore up what we have before we go forward. And what I don't want to see is an exodus with our officers being enticed to go somewhere else. I think we need to work on that to keep them here. We need to get them a better benefits package. We need to keep them here to keep our people safe. But in order for us to do that, we're going to have to fix this cave they live in. Okay, and that's the term I'm going to use. It's a cave. And it's nonsense. We have patrol vehicles that are being stored off premises here at residences. It's uncalled for. I think we need to address it. That can has been kicked down the road too long. And I bring it up because I'm passionate about it. Because I know what it's like to walk in their shoes. And I think it's time to pick that can up and not kick it anymore. And it's all going to start. It's going to hinge on everything that we do from now forward. But what I don't want to see is our governor impose something similar, like the state of Louisiana has done, like what is occurring in New York, in Minnesota, in California, in Colorado. It's getting out of hand. I want to make this to where people want to come here to work law enforcement, to protect our community, and they want to live here. That's what I want to see. I'm done kicking this can down the road. It's time. We can't do it anymore.
Other comments from board members? Alderman Flores.
What I would say to that is, yeah, and I think it kind of comes back around to, once again, our use tax, keeping up with the cities around us, not having that in place when every other city does. And I think a lot of it comes down to people misunderstanding what the use tax is and how it would affect them or not affect them for that matter. But I think, I do think we need to be careful about how much more residential we annex in and zone. I'm encouraged by the fact that we're having so much interest in commercial stuff and things like that. We definitely need to keep that up. I don't want it to be something that discourages businesses from looking into this area to think that we're not going to keep growing as a city. But I do think it's something that we already have a lot of properties annexed, a lot of properties zoned for that reason. We have a lot of housing that will be coming that has already been set in motion. But I do kind of see your point though, as far as having a lot of changes coming in the near future. What does that look like, and how would we want to go forward with that to make sure they're not hurting our community, but we are helping it in the way that you're talking about? We do know every time we add a neighborhood, it's a lot more stress on our police department, a lot more stress on things like that, and it doesn't really help bring tax dollars in, which is how we function. And a lot of that is because we do not have a use tax. And I'm like Nixa, I'm like everywhere, even Highlandville has a use tax. Everywhere has a use tax but us. And so I do think as a city, with our citizens and the way we communicate with them over this next year or so, it really matters a lot when it comes down to that, because I don't think a lot of our citizens realize that without that in place, we are slowly falling behind. And as technology, just the way of life changes. We're not able to keep up as a community without a use tax in place. And so yeah, I think there's a lot of conversations that go together with that. And I think we should be having them and planning them out. And that way, 5 years down the road, hopefully we're in a much better situation than we are today, because we do not have enough money for our police department. We do not have enough money to keep our town, our quality of life is high. We're seeing crime on the rise. That's been happening every single year. So I do see where you're coming from. I think it's a broader conversation that involves a lot of items there. But I do see where you're coming from.
Further comments? I will add my 2 cents. I think this board and the board previous have been attempting to not kick this can down the road. They've attempted to bring this, what they have done is brought it to the voters. I can tell you that I served on the political action committee that tried to bring this to voters, and I put my own personal money along with family members and friends. Mr. Flores, same way. I mean, we put our money where our mouths were to try to reach out, and it wasn't effective. And I think our longer term strategy, which all of us have brought into, is greater engagement with the public, and we have been investing in that in the communications department. Presently, Ozark is a safe place to live, a good place to live. It's a great quality of life. However, we are in a growing region, and the potential is for circumstances to overwhelm our community over time. Now, my view on how to handle growth in general, I feel that a moratorium is, there are problems legally which would have been referred to, but it is more like a panic. I'll share this. My wife and I take a trip to my family century farm once a year, and we just came back last weekend. And that's in Rawls County. And when I grew up, I visited my folks there. Vandalia, all the Ladonia, Louisiana, all those communities. I had great memories. Factories that were working, a furniture factory, brick factory, towns were vibrant. And the trip before last, I really wanted to see Vandalia. I didn't recognize it. It's gone, just crumbled. And the towns around, when you drive through it, I mean, there's no economy there. There's no growth there. We cannot work through our problems by discouraging growth. You can go to Rawls County. They beg for growth. They beg for interest from anybody to invest. They're hollowed out. You talk about crime. I mean, I talked to a farmer next to my farm, and it's methamphetamine everywhere. They can't, the families that have moved out, they're tearing down their old farmhouses because the renters are unreliable, because it has become that lawless. I don't feel that not growing is an answer at all to our problem. But I do feel that we have an opportunity here in hiring a city administrator and an assistant, where we can find somebody in our interviews that can give to us the vision that, or not give to us, but help articulate for us a vision for managing growth and managing the correct growth, and how that's done. And I intend to pay very close attention in our interviews when they get finalized to us. To that, I'll be asking that question. There's smart growth, there are smart ways to do this. Articulate what that model is for you. I think that is our best opportunity that we can grab. It's not a use tax, which we tried and failed, but this one is within our grasp. I feel that we need a manager for growth. And I do think that if we have somebody with the right vision, we can address those problems, and we can also maybe capture the attention of our citizenry as well. Especially with the other tools that we put in place, communications department and other things. So I think that what we have really, for Ozark, a historic opportunity here. I don't want to overplay it. I don't want to oversay it. But it is something tangible and it's within our grasp. That would be my comment. Other comments? I thought that was an excellent topic to bring up. Very well. There is a motion that I'm going to make. I'm going to move to adjourn. All in favor?